This is KHQA Overtime with Chris Duerr, brought to you by Hollister Whitney.
And this is Saturday, November the 9th, and you have indeed entered overtime at the height of fall football fever and more. The mission today was simple: get our remaining soccer team, the last of them, to a breakout district title, get our best cross-country runners on both sides of the river some state hardware accomplished, and get our remaining high school football teams to either district title games in Missouri or our 3 Western Illinois survivors to the state quarterfinals next weekend. Quincy Notre Dame might have had the most interesting route to that goal with a rematch against the gridiron artist formerly known as Arthur Lovington, now ALAH. QD last year as a 4-5 playoff anomaly actually upset then #1 seed ALAH in the first round on its home field. Revenge, you heard Talon Scott talking about knowing it was coming today. Quincy Notre Dame, first 2 possessions, end up in the red zone, and they turn the ball over on downs twice. You know what? The defense had to step up, and it did. How about a little Talon Scott doing Talon Scott type things? Oh, but he's not the only one with chase down fun. The big fella's getting into the act as well. Aiden Brunier, I tell you what, he closes really, really well, and that is a scary sight. And all of a sudden, ALAH has to punt, and Arthur's punt does not go well. Wyatt Mueller is there to block it. A very short field, and Quincy Notre Dame is not going to miss their shot this time. It is Hunter Schuckman to the air, and he's going to hook up with the ever-reliable Gavin Dolman. Just like that, 7-0 Raiders. They're not done in this ball game. I see a bad Hoon rising. Ivan Hoon on his way 40 yards to the house, and this one extends the lead out to 13-0. ALAH would counter, and they would do so on a short run here of 17 yards by Maddox Sturrett. So the lead is essentially halved at this point, 13-7. Quincy Notre Dame's defense was sick of that tomfoolery from that point forward. It is Jack Brenner, who always shows out for our highlight reel. He's going to do so again right here, coming up with a big tackle for loss. And yeah, you don't want to mess with that fella. How about a little bit more fun, this time defensively as well? Actually, a little offensively first from Gavin Dolman. Defense coming later. Little screen, he's going to slip everybody. Only the sideline is going to get him, and that sets up more fun from Mr. Ivan Hoon. Little 6-yard splash into the end zone is effective. Quincy Notre Dame extends its lead. They're not done. They're just going to keep working in this game. The run game, super effective. The big fellas up front doing a heck of a job in this one. Oliver Triplett, good to see him back and healthy and running well. That sets up Ivan Hoon yet again. Quincy Notre Dame builds a big lead. They're just not going to relinquish. Quincy Notre Dame takes care of its business effectively. I mentioned more. Gavin Dolman will give you a little interception to close out the highlights as Quincy Notre Dame is moving on to the state quarterfinals. In this one, 34-7 is your final. Up next for the Raiders, a game that might well be your Class 2A state championship game. On the road, Quincy Notre Dame will travel to Maroa Forsyth. Man, you talk about a couple of storied programs. You talk about a game rife with great subplots. By the way, Maroa today having no problem taking care of a very good Chester team. Great defenses next week as Chester gets held to just 7 points in that ball game. Again, that game set for 2 o'clock on the road for the Raiders. Also, we already knew this last night that Quincy High School was on the road. We now know a time for their trip to Chicago next week in the 7A state quarterfinals as Quincy High goes to St. Rita. That will be a 3 o'clock start in Chicagoland. And let's do a little fun here with our man Ben Schmidt as we check in now on the state champs trying to punch their ticket to the state quarterfinals again as well.
Game Point Central looking for a second straight home playoff win. Panthers, they start on defense, and Caden Niekamp makes his presence felt right from the jump, gets the sack right there, and that would force Cumberland to punt on their first drives. Here comes the Central offense, and it's Elijah Genenbacher with the run to get things going, bouncing off of tacklers, and moves the chains right there for Game Point Central as they get moving quickly. And then later on, it's a 4th down and 5 play, and Central breaks out the pass play as Genenbacher finds Nate Peters heading out towards the sideline. And it's going to be a good day for Central when the offense gets the run and the pass going. And then just a couple of moments later, it's Niekamp who breaks a couple tackles and runs it in for the touchdown as the Panthers, they strike first in this one. They would go for 2, and this time it's going to be Genenbacher keeping it himself. He runs it in for the 2-point conversion, and just like that in the blink of an eye, Panthers, they take an 8-0 lead in this one. Cumberland on their next drive, they go for it on 4th and 2. That play strung out by Genenbacher and Zach Weir. So now already up by 8 points. The Central offense will take over once again, and it's going to be Niekamp who's rumbling and stumbling his way down near the 5-yard line. As that Panthers offense, they were looking good early on in this one, and then it's going to be Niekamp again on 4th and goal from the 1. Niekamp powers his way in for the touchdown. He looked good early on out of the backfield. They would go for 2 again, and it's Genenbacher who plows his way in for 2. Boy, is he tough to bring down on first tackle attempt, and Central, they hold a 16-0 lead at this point. And then Cumberland again decides to go for it on 4th down. Their next drive, that's a bad decision because that pass falls incomplete, and Central, things just keep on getting better for them as it's Genenbacher, and he runs a man over, gets that offense rolling on another nice run from the quarterback position. And we would not be done with the runs from Genenbacher on the day. He decides to keep this one himself, and once he gets into the clear, Genenbacher is going across the goal line for the touchdown. That point, it makes it 24-0, and Central would only add on from there. They go on to win this one over Cumberland, 40-0, your final score on this Saturday.
Why not another rematch with Calhoun? Because you know what? It's 1A playoff time. And yes, we'll do that again next week. It will be on the road where Camp Point Central lost their only game of the season, a thrilling 1-point defeat at the hands of Calhoun. Rematch time next Saturday at 2 o'clock. Our last remaining Class 1A team outside of Camp Point Central was Brown County with the upset win last week, taking on a very good Casey Westfield squad in the slop. Late first half, it's the big fella, Cooper Adcox, coming up strong, and yeah, you don't want to get hit by him, and that, my friends, is a sack, and it makes it 0-0 at the break at that point. How about more pass rush pressure from that Brown County defense? Drew Markert doing his thing. Big time sack for him. Still a 0-0 ball game. First play of the 4th quarter, Casey Westfield misses the field goal, and Brown County's defense keeping them in it at this point. But here was the dagger, down 8-0. The Hornets allow a punt return for touchdown, and unfortunately, Tom Little's season has come to an end. Very scrappy effort by the Hornets all season long, but they are eliminated today by the final count of 16-0 is how it all shakes down. One other score from 1A to pass along if you have long-term vision and you are looking at Camp Point Central and hoping they beat, coming up next week, Hardin Calhoun. Althoff Catholic, the biggest fish in the pond, will still be out there after they beat Carrollton today. 43-21 is your final. We have Missouri high school football today. Last district semifinal of the week. Van Far at home against Hayti in the slop in Vandalia. Winner gets St. Vincent, who did not look great last night against Louisiana. Jackson Fisher set the tone. The big fellow with a quarterback sack on the very first play from scrimmage, and it looked like Hayti was going to struggle all day offensively, but on 3rd and forever, Javante Payne somehow threads the needle here to Nick Robinson for an 80-yard touchdown strike, and all of a sudden, Van Far's momentum is gone. They're down 6-0. Enter Tyson Douglas. He has instant momentum, and man, this first run looked like vintage Earl Campbell from way back in the day. The whole pile, the whole entire Pirate, or Indian, I should say, defense from Hayti is pushed all over the field at that point. More from the big fella, Tyson Douglas, nifty run down into the red zone, and he's going to clean up his own mess in this one and extend his team to its first lead after the 2-point conversion as he plunges through some nice blocking to make it 8-6 in favor of Van Far. And then the Indian defense really apparently decided to bow its neck after giving up that early touchdown. They gave up nothing the rest of the day. Evan Utterback just utterly suffocating Hayti to the edge. They got a lot of speed, not more speed than Evan, though. What a tackle for loss that was. Then it's Isaac Wardlow time. He's going to come up with the interception right here, giving his team the ball back at their own 40-yard line. One play later, Tyson Douglas, who had a monster day with 179 yards rushing. This was the best of his efforts all day. Again, remember, it's sloppy, and every time I put my foot down, there was water everywhere. Does not affect our guy, Tyson Douglas. In from 40 out, made it 14-6 at that point. The interceptions would continue. Huge day for Carson Huff in the back of that defense. Not one, but 2 picks. The first of them come here, and that gives the ball back over to the Van Far Indians. And Evan Utterback, the fullback, is going to take advantage right here, extending his team to a 22-6 lead. Some more great defense coming up right here on the next possession. It's Dalton Hayes with a tackle to force a punt from the very back end from Hayti, backed up against the shadow of their own end zone. Nearly a safety here by Mr. Hayes. Tyson Douglas goes back to work. He had 4 touchdowns on the day as well. This was the third of 3, or third of 4, I should say. He'll get another one after we show you another Mr. Carson Huff interception in this one as well. I'll tell you what, all Van Far today, they look phenomenal, winning 54-6 on the day to punch their ticket to Perryville coming up next Saturday. That is probably our only district championship Saturday game, 1 o'clock in Perryville against the powerhouse known as St. Vincent. And let's take a look at what we've got on tap for district championship games next Friday and Saturday as well. Obviously, we talked about, at this point, Van Far. Here's the rest of the slate. An 8-man game that could see an over-under of 200 total points between Paris and North Shelby. Bowling Green goes on the road to Herman. Hard to believe Bowling Green wasn't the 1 seed. I don't think they're going to struggle on the road. The game everybody will be talking about, Monroe City at South Shelby next week. And, of course, Hannibal making its way to beautiful Warrenton. I mentioned Bowling Green didn't get a chance to show you their highlights last night. Let's do that now. Taking on Jefferson of Festus last night. Dane Dunn, first possession, finds his way through behind the big fellas, and that's going to make it at that point 6-0. Little Jace Eskew on the 2-point conversion extends that lead out to 8-0. However, Jefferson showed a little moxie offensively early behind the very talented Mr. Cooper Frisk. He is going to find a seam in the Bowling Green defense, take advantage, and cut that lead down to just 2 points at that point. And that was about all that Bowling Green would allow the rest of the night. Tanner McGaw time. He's going to come up with an outstanding return here on the ensuing kickoff, and that's going to set up long-distance Dane Dunn, and there's no better Dane Dunn than long-distance Dane Dunn. But first, Mr. McGaw cleaning up that really good return. In fact, Dane Dunn's touchdown on the back end would go for 41 yards. It would be a lead for Bowling Green that would be extended by Dane Dunn also scoring the 2-point conversion and giving his team a 16-7 lead. And you know what? From that point forward, why not? Some more defense. Tanner McGaw, again, making his presence felt, coming up with the interception to turn the ball back over to his offense. And pretty much this was kind of the story. Lather, rinse, repeat for the Bobcats. No surprise to anybody who follows their offense. They get the win big time in this one. And as we mentioned, advance on to that showdown on the road with the Bearcats of Herman. And we are just getting warmed up here on the big overtime show. I've got highlights for you from state cross country in Columbia. I've got highlights for you from a history-making soccer match for the Hannibal Pirates when overtime continues.
This is KHQA Overtime with Chris Duerr, brought to you by Hollister Whitney.
Another nasty night in St. Peter's, but a glorious night for the Hannibal Pirates soccer team, trying to win that elusive district title against Fort Zumwalt South. Bodie Rollins has not scored in this tournament all week. He had the first good shot, put it on frame, couldn't go. A lot of that all game long as both defenses beasted tonight, including Clayton Ison. Check out this off the penalty restart. This is why he is an all-state caliber keeper in my estimation. Look at the save to keep this thing scoreless. And again, we're going to slow it down for you and show you just how vertically gifted Clayton Ison is in stopping this. We went all through regulation with no goal, and then the magic happens as Bodie Rollins' streak of not being able to score is over. Golden style to punch a ticket to the state quarterfinals. Are you kidding me? We even had a Lambo leap of sorts from Mr. Bodie Rollins. Golden Bodie indeed. What a night for Eric Hill. What a night for Hannibal soccer as the Pirates reign supreme and get a chance to punch a ticket to state coming up next Saturday. It will be a tall order for the Pirates. That game has yet to be determined as a site and as a time, but Hannibal, we do know the opponent. It will be Ladue Horton Watkins, keeping Hannibal from a trip to Fenton. That's all that stands between them. Again, that game is set for November 16th. Man, I cannot wait. What a great story Eric Hill's crew has been this season. Speaking of great storylines in Northeast Missouri, we had a couple of huge cross-country developments today, starting with the South Shelby boys showing out in Class 2A. All-state finish today from Noah Wilt, who finished 18th overall to lead the way, but strong races across the board, including from Bo Mason and Cooper Seaton, allow South Shelby to take third place as a team down at Gans Creek. Now, individually, today our top finisher was the pride of Clark County High School in Class 2. It was Mason McDaniel from Clark County who would come in today at a time of 17:10. There you see him there, and finished 6th individually as well. So a very strong showing on the boys' side, especially when you take into account on Friday that Landon Chapman from Paris finished second overall. So really good stuff on the boys' side. We'll keep the tape rolling, though, to show you some girls' action, because it was a pretty darn good day for Brady Keller and Monroe City as well as a team. The girls in a loaded Class 2A field in this one. And they end up, by the way, with Miss Keller finishing 16th overall with a 15th place finish, but great balance overall from the Lady Panthers as well. We're going to show you those scores and breakdowns to kind of celebrate the individuals in this very quickly now. As we go to the first one, we're going to tell you on the boys' side, we already told you about South Shelby. We already told you about Mason McDaniel. But again, I wanted to show you that Bo Mason and Cooper Seaton, both in the top 50 in a loaded field, really helped kind of spur things along in this particular case for the South Shelby boys. Also on the docket today, some more to bring you now. This time, we'll kind of take a snapshot of what the girls did today. Great showing from the pride of South Shelby on the girls' side, Sam Coper, who ends up finishing in 32nd place overall. As you see, the Monroe City girls really showed out nicely as well on the day. I believe we have some stuff from earlier in the day as well to talk about on the boys and girls side for you. How about in Class 3, not Class 2, Class 3, the Centralia Panthers are your state champions on the boys side. No real surprise, led by All-Staters Carter Moss and Nolan Spickert. Also a shout out to the All-Stater Brendan Finnegan from Bowling Green, who finishes in a time of 17:35, showing out for his squad as well. Not the best of days for the Hannibal Pirates. The times were really good. It's just that the race was incredibly fast, both on the boys and the girls side, as we kick it up to the Class 4 meet on the day and tell you that Hannibal ends up with a top finish from Grace Munger on the girls' side of 94th. Again, pretty good time for her. David Munger on the boys' side ends up finishing in 18:13 and only could merit 96th place. And Ava Bonvillian also in the top 120. So congratulations to all our girls and boys cross-country runners in Northeast Missouri. We also had the IHSA state meet at Detweiler today. Leading the way for us locally, how about Quincy High freshman Peyton Kuhl in a time of 17:36, top 40 for her. Millie Schumacher from Route Catholic in the 1A bracket also just barely misses the top 40 with a great finish. Both those young ladies are freshmen. They've got great and bright careers ahead. Quincy High School showing out again. Fast time for Justin Kapner. Just couldn't really make any headway against an incredible field today. He finishes 158th on the girls' side. Amick McClelland also with a very nice finish. Want to talk a little college cross country real quickly before I get out of this bracket, because we had the Heart of America Conference Championships today, and two of our favorite locals broke out big time today. Logan Lucas set a new program record in 25:01 and qualified for the NAIA National Meet. He is the pride of Monroe City. We don't know yet if the pride of Philadelphia, Missouri, Delaney Strauss, is qualified nationally, but her 13th place finish is the best ever for a woman from Culver Stockton within the Heart of America Conference Tournament. And we'll have more overtime coming your way after this.
This is KHQA Overtime with Chris Duerr, brought to you by Hollister Whitney.
Western Illinois falls to Eddie George's Tennessee State team today. 45-20 was your final there. Also, Quincy University guarantees itself its first GLVC winning record ever with number 5 win today on the road at Southwest Baptist. Also over 330 yards rushing in that game for the Hawks on the day. Big win for Illinois College as the great Destin Chance sets the new school record for career touchdowns with his 109th. And how about Culver Stockton getting off the schneid with a big win over William Penn? 42-31 was your final. John Wood basketball today, second day of their classic, and it was a rough first half for the Blazers, I should say, in this one. Johnny Dahl's team struggling to find offense unless it came from Kylan Smith, who's going to light up the three right here. Start things off on a very good note, but his team already at this point down 11 as he hits the corner three to start the offense going. We're not done, though. John Wood trying to dig its way out, at least of that deficit. And if it wasn't Kylan Smith, it was Connor Watson. Those two trying to make some things happen on this day. And over again in the corner, it's the pride of Macomb knocking down a triple. He had a big weekend. Huge day for Kylan Smith, who had 22 points and 6 rebounds on the day. Unfortunately, that deficit John Wood built, they could never really fully chip out of. They made it close at the end, but fall today by the final count of 72-65. Elsewhere on the docket today, Quincy University got their start last night. We didn't get a chance to give you those scores, but in the GMAC GLVC crossover, Quincy University loses today to Cedarville and lost last night to Findlay to start Brad Hoyt's career. Culver Stockton, man, a hard luck loser on the road to the Eutechnics in double overtime, 85-80 to fall to 0-3 on the season. The John Wood women today lose to Iowa Western despite a monster day from Blair Eftink, who had 21 points in that one. The Culver-Stockton women today with a big win over HLG. Good stuff for them. Also, the Quincy University women today fall to Cedarville in GMAC GLVC crossover play. Actually beat Cedarville, I should say. Sorry about that. 76-55 was your final there. Great start to her career for Tatum White from Palmyra as Illinois College gets a win over Concordia. 75-36 is your final there. And in volleyball today, Quincy University gets the win over McKendree 3-1 to improve to 10-1 in GLVC play.